Hey Campus Life, if you're watching this video right now, it's probably because you're going backpacking or at least thinking about going backpacking with us. So we're making this little video to make sure you pack the right stuff and pack it the right way. We've gone on hundreds of backpack trips. We've been doing this for over 30 years. And so we've tested this stuff out like crazy. So we have some pretty strong opinions about the kind of gear that you should have. One of the rules of thumb is the lighter something is and the smaller something is, the more expensive it is. And so it might take some time to build up, your dream set of gear. But we're going to show you what we think is best. And it's also going to cover the two major trips that we do, which is Royal Gorge, which is a summer trip where you don't usually see any rain and the temperatures never get below like 50 degrees usually. And then the Marble Mountains trip, or the Crystal Lakes trip, which can get really cold and really hot in the same trip. So, but still a summer trip-ish in June. But the temperatures at Marble Mountains will definitely get down sometimes below freezing at night, and you can have snow, wind, and rain at any time. So this video will cover pretty much every type of trip that's not a winter trip. So we're going to start with footwear, which is very important because when you're backpacking, your feet are your transportation, and your footwear choices are very important. So let's check it out. I kind of have a whole bunch of types of shoes here, from super burly down to kind of like the minimal that you would want to wear on a backpack trip. So we'll start with these. These are Salomon hiking boots. You'll see a lot of the Campus Life veterans were wearing Salomon shoes, and that's just because we've come to like them over the years. We are not sponsored by Salomon in any way, but you would maybe think we were. But these are $240 waterproof Salomon hiking boots. We got these ones at the REI garage sale, or the used gear sale, for $35. So REI used gear sales are a way to get good stuff for cheap. And these are really bomber. These are like SUVs for your feet. Your feet will not get beat up when you're wearing something like this. Personally, my favorite choice is these Salomons right here, which are kind of in between this and this, but they're enough. They're kind of a light backpacking shoe. They're well ventilated. They're not too heavy, but they have a steel shank in the bottom of them, and they have really good grip and tread. And to me, these protect my feet. They kind of protect my ankles because they're high tops, and I don't have to worry about my feet getting beat up on a trip. So these type of shoes have never failed me. I've worn this exact pair of shoes, in Peru, Gorge, Marbs, Crystal Lakes, hiking in Alaska, and they've never done me wrong. They're also waterproof, Gore-Tex, because you do end up hiking sometimes in puddles and streams, and it's sure nice to not have your socks get wet. So really recommend this type of shoe. This is kind of a low top version, the good old Salomon XA or Pro 3D, which so many Campus Life people have. It's a bomber ballistic shoe. You can get them in waterproof and non-waterproof models. These are waterproof ones, and they got really great tread. They're super durable. They got a lot of armor on your toes, so if you stub your toe, you're not going to hurt your toe. Your foot's really well protected, really well supported. Good shank in the shoe, so it doesn't flex too mumuch. But honestly, when I was a kid, I mostly just wore tennis shoes when I was backpacking, and that'll work. If you can't afford something like this, maybe that's down the road. Just a pair of pretty much normal tennis shoes. They just need to be in good enough shape that the sole's not going to fall off of them, and they're not going to fall apart on you when you're down there, because that would be bad. Okay, now we're going to talk about socks. Socks are obviously very important. Just normal athletic socks like these will work. Like I wore these for a long time, but as I've gotten older, I've just really appreciated tougher socks. This is my favorite brand right now. They're called Darn Tough socks, and they are darn tough. These I've had for about 5 backpacking trips. They almost look as good as new. They're really tough. They're like mid-high socks, so they come up so no debris gets in them. I know the girls think these are cute, but the ankle socks, not a good idea, just because what happens is the sticks and little rocks and stuff get down inside your sock, and when they get inside your sock, they give you blisters. So we're not a fan at Campus Life of you wearing ankle socks. Some people you will see doing it anyway, but I wouldn't. But yeah, just any kind of light hiking sock is good for any of our trips. When you go backpack stores like REI or Mountain Rec, you will see big old thick like wool socks like these. And I've never been a huge fan of these because we don't hike in super cold temperatures. And I think these are a little overkill, but they are nice, and you wouldn't get blisters with these, but your feet might get really hot and sweat a lot, and might get moist, and well, then you might get blisters actually. I like these to have a pair of these on the Marbs trip, basically for at night in my sleeping bag to keep my toes nice and warm. I don't usually hike with them, but I'll put them on if it's really cold out at night. Okay, water shoes. You obviously don't want to wear your hiking shoes in the water, but all the trips that we do, there is a water element. On Marbs, we got rafting. And on Gorge and Crystal Lakes, we have times when we're like rock hopping down a river and you're kind of in swimming across the pool and getting out and hiking, and so you need some sort of footwear that you can get wet. And so here's a couple different options for you. Some people just bring a pair of old tennis shoes, but they kind of get wet and heavy, and that's kind of like the cheap version. Nothing wrong with that, but most of us here will prefer like a dedicated water shoe. Like these are Salomon's water shoes. They don't have an insole that comes out. They drain really well. They're kind of made of mesh, and these are ones I've worn to Royal Gorge and other trips for like the last six years, I think. But last year I got a pair of these. These are called Zero sandals. They're super light. They're just a couple of ounces, and they strap on your feet. And last year I wore these, and they were pretty burly, and they stayed on. And these guys have a lifetime warranty, actually. If you break them, they'll. Again, I'm not being paid by these guys. I'm not sponsored, but these works pretty good. These kind of sandals, and when you're rock hopping down the river, you want them to be able to stick to the rocks, kind of, and not come off when you're swimming, and also not just get waterlogged and super heavy. For the last couple of years, these have been really popular as well. These are Merrells. These are a little bit more on the expensive side. I think these are around $100 each, or maybe you can find them cheaper online. But these also drain really well. They're super light and they're really grippy. And some of the cool kids are wearing these nowadays. Okay, next we're going to talk about sleeping, and we'll start with the pad. We don't have a tarp here, but you need some sort of tarp to put your pad on, otherwise your pad will get a hole in it, or your sleeping bag will get a bunch of stuff in it. A lot of times you can go together with a buddy, or maybe 4 or 5 buddies, and sometimes even more than that, and share a big giant tarp. But what goes on the tarp is your pad. And there's a couple schools of thought when it comes to pads. The most standard type of pad is the good old Thermarest. Okay, these are pretty light. They fold up pretty small, fit in your pack, and you blow them up like this, and it's a good cushy feeling. This is kind of like the bread and butter type of pad. Lots of kids have these. Another one kind of newer on the market, I don't have it out so you can see the whole thing, but is one of these pads that blows up. This one's made by Nemo. This one is called the Cosmo Insulated Light, and the nice thing about this is it gets a little smaller and it's a little lighter, but again, you pay, like I said, for small and light. So these are a little bit more expensive, but they're a little thicker. This one's about 2.5 inches tall. It's much more padding than this one, and even a smaller size, but a little bit more expensive. Kind of another really cool option, and less expensive and super light, is this kind of foldable foam pad. This is really light. It doesn't fold as small, of course, to go inside your pack, so you'd have to strap this to the outside. But you can find these at REI and online all over the place. Now, pillows. You want a pillow, probably. This is kind of your standard backpacking pillow. You can kind of smash it down, but as you can see, it kind of takes up some space, but maybe that doesn't really matter. It's cheap. This is what, like, the cool kids have. This is a really small pillow made by Nemo. I think these are, I can't remember how much these are, but definitely a bit more expensive. It's got a bunch of memory foam in it. You unfold it, it folds down really small. You unfold it, blow it up, and it's kind of this big, this is my favorite pillow I've ever owned in all my years of backpacking. I love this thing, and a good night's sleep is very important to me, so you want to think about that. The really easy way to do a pillow is to just take your stuff sack from your sleeping bag and shove all your extra clothes in it. Boom, you got a pillow. I did that for a lot of years too. Okay, obviously it's really important to have a good sleeping bag. So as you can see, there's different sizes, and as you could guess, the smaller it gets and the lighter it gets, the more expensive it gets. But one of the biggest things about sleeping bags is the temperature rating. So for Gorge, you really don't need anything warmer than like a 30 degree or 35 degree bag. But for Marbs, I like a 15 degree bag because it does get pretty darn cold at night at Marbs and Crystal Lakes, or if you're going someplace where it gets cold. So, this one, These really small ones that stuff down, they make them even smaller than this, can get pretty expensive. But the biggest thing is it needs to be able to fit in your backpack, and it needs to not be one of those big like ones you took to Boy Scout camp or that you roll and you have a string and you tie it and you try to strap that on your pack and it always falls off and it's like a big trail going along behind you. And so it needs to be able to fit in a stuff sack and be as small as possible and warm enough for the trip. So another fairly recent trend has been the hammock and the straps. A lot of people like hammocks these days, so you might want to bring a hammock to Gorge. I mean, if you don't, you're gonna probably kind of wish you had one. This is an Eno hammock that's kind of like seems to be the hammock of choice, but again, it's a little bit of an expensive one, like 70 bucks. But there are cheaper ones out there, but hammocks are kind of the thing now. Okay, obviously this is an important choice right here, your backpack. A school backpack will not cut it, but there's a lot of options out there for you. So we're going to go over some backpacking basics. First of all, what you'll notice when you go to get a real backpack is a lot of times there'll be a number on it, like this right here. And this is how big it is. That's in liters. So this is my backpack that I use for Royal Gorge. It's an REI Crest Trail 70. This has got really high ratings for Backpacker magazine, and I can vouch that this is one of the best backpacks on the market for sure. But it's a 70 liter. Being a trip leader, I need a little bit bigger backpack because I end up putting a lot of different stuff in it. But this is still a good size for like a week-long trip. Okay. A couple things about it. It needs a really good belly strap. I like ones that have pockets here in the hip so you can put snacks and even like my camera in it. Some ventilation on the back is always good. And inside, I got a water bladder, and so I can drink while I'm hiking, which I think is pretty important. With backpacks, as with everything, you get what you pay for. So lighter, stronger, better is going to be more expensive. But this is one thing, if you're going to invest in something and you think you might be backpacking in the future, investing in a good backpack is pretty sweet. So I would recommend anything by REI is going to be solid. Don't go get something cheap from a cheap store to get you on the trip. It'll break on the trip and then we'll have to try to repair it and it'll be a big pain. So I like this one. Another real legendary backpack that's gotten a lot of great reviews and it's just been proven and proven and proven over and over is the Gregory Baltoro. This is a Baltoro 65. 65 is a good size for the trips that we do. You can get a whole week's worth of everything in a Baltoro. So it has all the things we talked about, you know, pocket, good ventilation, strong harness, good belly band. We all around here love Osprey backpacks. This is the Atmos 65. Again, a 65 liter pack is, I don't think you'd want to go too much smaller than that for a week-long trip, but this is a great pack right here, and it's got a good belly strap and good pouches and all that stuff. So yeah, so that's what it is for backpacks. Maybe check it out with a Campus Life staff person if you're not really sure if your backpack's going to cut it. All right, well, at Royal Gorge, you won't need a tent. Don't bring a tent to Royal Gorge. In fact, we don't even sometimes allow you to use them because the spaces are so limited and they take up some space. But on Marbs, on Crystal Lakes, and any colder trip, you might need a tent. On Marbles, for sure, you should at least have a space in a tent, you or your buddy. You can split up the weight by having one of you carry the poles and one of you carry the actual tent and somebody else carry the rain fly. With REI tents, the Half Dome 2 is kind of like the gold standard, I think, of two-man tents. The 2 means two-man. It's light, it's durable, and not that expensive compared to other tents for sure. Because as you would guess, you get what you pay for with tents usually. But REI tends to be really good stuff. You want to bring a tarp that's big enough or a footprint to go under to save the bottom of your tent. But all right, well, we're still on the essentials. We gotta have cooking stuff, right? So that's what we're gonna go over now: cooking and water. So for cooking, you need to have a stove, or at least be in a cook group with somebody that's got a stove. Obviously, you're not going to be taking those big propane grills, so you're going to have something small and hopefully light. We're all big fans of the butane-powered stoves. So you buy these gas canisters that are universal, and then you buy a stove that screws onto the top of it. And a stove like this, super light, super compact. It folds up super small in this little tiny pouch. This one's a Primus. There's a lot of companies out there, MSR, Jetboil, making small stoves, but you can see that's all it is, and it's super light. And then it goes into like a cooking kit, kind of like this. So a lot of us in Campus Life are fans of the Jetboil system. It seems to be a really efficient way to cook. everything's kind of contained in the pot that you boil your water in. And so this is mine. This is a Jetboil, I think Minimo is the name of this brand. This one, and it's got an adjustable regulator, and this is a great stove right here. This has been my favorite stove I've ever owned. There's a few different models of Jetboil, but you know, just you don't have to get a real expensive one. You can get, there's lots of different kinds that you can get. You definitely want to make sure you get the right kind of fuel canister for your stove. This every once in a while happens where a kid messes that one up. But these two, they may look the same, but this one has a threaded top and this one has a pop on top. And so, yeah, just make sure you get the right fuel canister, very important. Pots and pans, you're gonna wanna have some sort of cook set to boil water or fry stuff, and I like to make pizza and Spam and different things, so I always have a frying pan. A lot of people don't need a frying pan, don't use a frying pan, don't bring anything that you don't need. So when you buy your food, you'll know what you'll need. But this is a great little cook set. The Jetboil has its own kind of container that boils water in it. If all you're doing is boiling water and you have Jetboil, you don't need anything else really. But you wanna also have a plate to put your food on, or some sort of bowl to eat out of, and of course silverware. And that brings me to these. Really, it can be anything. You can steal silverware out of the kitchen of your house. You can have one of these like Swiss Army knife type of things if you want. I'll show you what I have personally. These have lasted me for years. This is my kind of like my knife, and this is my spreader for my peanut butter, and this one is my spork, which has worked great for me, from anything from noodles to pudding to whatever I want to eat with it. Oatmeal, okay? And then you want to have something to wash your dishes with. So I have this little scraper. It's kind of rubber on one side, hard plastic on the other, and I can scrape, and you're going to want to be able to wash your dishes. Okay, all right, now we got to talk about water. Water, obviously purified water, very important. Back in the day, we used to drink straight out of these springs and waterfalls that we go to, but I'm not sure that that's really safe anymore. You definitely do not want Giardia or any other kind of bacteria from the water. So we want to make sure we purify all of our water. Couple ways to do that. First of all, the container. We're big fans of Nalgene bottles. They're almost unbreakable. Camelback makes them. There's lots of companies that make them. Doesn't matter. I'll usually bring 2 of these, but you could get by with 1. The pump is one very popular way to purify water. There's a lot of different brands of pumps that are out there. Just make sure you get one that's kind of made for backpacking, or you know someone, or you're in a cook group with someone who's got a pump, because you'll need it. You need a lot of water every day, right? Another kind of newer thing is the SteriPen, which uses UV light. This is a brand new one, obviously, that we just got. Uses UV light to purify your water. The one I've been using for a couple years is this one right here. It's a SteriPen Journey LCD, but this is several years old, and I don't know if they even make this model anymore, but you know, you got to read the manual, understand how to use it, and if your batteries die, you're kind of in trouble, which has happened to me before. But they are nice in that they're light, they're small, and in a place like Royal Gorge where the water's all pretty clear, it just needs to be purified. I can dunk this in there and sort of stir this around for, I think, 90 seconds, and then my bottle's pure. The other old school way is you can get tablets to drop in there, but then you got to let the water usually sit for half an hour before you can drink it, and it usually has a little bit of a funny taste, but those are effective at killing the bacteria as well. Okay, one of the most important things we're going to tell you today is about soap. Obviously you're going to need soap to wash your dishes, wash your body, wash your hair, and we want to protect our rivers and lakes and streams. So you want to have only biodegradable. If it doesn't say biodegradable on it, it's not biodegradable, and you may not use it, and we will confiscate your soap and you will have no soap. So to be safe, you're gonna find something like this. It even says biodegradable on it. Or if you're really brave, you can get this Dr. Bronner's Magic Soaps, which supposedly you can use to treat poison oak, mosquito repellent, toothpaste, wash your dishes, wash your hair, wash your body, and it's peppermint. Okay, obviously you're gonna need to eat for the entire time we're on the trip, and so I just want to encourage you to use your packing list to look at what kind of foods that you want. Food's very much a personal preference. The biggest thing is it needs to all be able to fit in your backpack, and it needs to be nothing that needs refrigeration, because we don't obviously have refrigeration down there. So there's a lot of great backpacking food out there. I'll give you a couple of pointers though as far as food. We have a meal planner. You want to plan out every single meal, because you don't want to take more food than you need, because that's extra weight, but you definitely don't want to run out because you need your food, of course. And you do use a lot more calories than you normally do in a given day, sitting back and playing Xbox, whatever you do in the summer, because you're hiking. We do a lot of day hikes, we're pushing you pretty good, and so you need to bring enough food to snacks for calories. So a couple pointers though. First of all, canned food is a bad idea. It's really heavy and really bulky, and you have to hike the cans out. So you can usually tell a noob on a backpack trip because they have cans in their backpack. The one exception, of course, is Spam. And the reason why we bring Spam on backpack trips is so that we can have meat well into the trip, like day 4 or 5 or 6, and not have to refrigerate it. So we usually do a Spam cooking thing on Thursday night at Royal Gorge, and everybody's glad to be able to have Spam. You need snack food, and so trail mix is good because it's usually kind of a more healthy type of snack food, so I'll always bring a lot of trail mix. I'm a fan of the ones with M&Ms and peanuts and raisins and stuff in it, and this has some peanut butter chips, monster mix they call it. Also snacks even like this, if you're a fan of Smarties, hey, bring a whole thing of Smarties because this is calories and you need calories when you're hiking. Whatever your favorite candy is, bring some of it. I'm also a fan of energy snacks too for the big major hikes, like the big hike in, the hike out, any hikes where you got your full, your full pack and you're going for a few miles. So energy gel, this stuff works. And one of my favorites is the Honey Stinger Ginger Snap Waffle. It's kind of just like a thing I like. Okay, Mountain House. People ask about Mountain House meals. These are very popular on Campus Life backpack trips because they're very light and they're small and compact, and they're actually really good. You just boil water and put them in here. These aren't the cheapest things in the world. Cheaper would be like Top Ramen or a cup of noodles. Those are great. They're light, they're cheap, they're like 40 cents each. This is more like $6.99. So this is almost like what you'd pay if you went to like a fast food restaurant for dinner. Of course, there's no fast food restaurants at Royal Gorge, but we like Mountain Houses. They even make some really good desserts. But again, the big thing with food is planning everything out ahead of time. Oatmeal is great for breakfast. Small, light, just needs boiling water, and it's really good energy food that lasts. It's a good healthy breakfast. Okay, now for all the extra stuff. Sit down in my chair. First of all, a chair. If you don't have a chair, you're gonna wish you had a chair. You're gonna be sitting in someone else's chair and making them mad, because it's not really fun to sit on the ground, and especially like when you're cooking food. This is the kind of like the three-legged chair that's been very popular for a lot of years. However, kind of the new thing is this chair. Yep, best backpacking purchase I've made in the last couple years. Okay, lights, headlamp. Again, if you don't have one of these, you're gonna be mooching off of somebody else and saying, "Can I borrow your headlamp?" and being really annoying. So make sure you got a decent headlamp and make sure you got fresh batteries in it so they don't die, because it's got to last you a whole week, and there is no light switch down at Royal Gorge. So these are two headlamps that I own that work pretty good. One's a Black Diamond, one's a Petzl. They're both great brands. Another thing that's been popular recently is these solar lights. This is a solar panel on top. It charges all day, and then it's like a lantern. You can hang it over when you're like cooking dinner. You can hang it over your backpack. You blow it up and it looks like this. Ooh, pretty cool. Okay, we sometimes call this mountain money toilet paper. You definitely are gonna need this, right? You can just grab a roll out of your bathroom, or you can be more high tech and get one of these little compact ones that are a little bit smaller and a little bit lighter. And there's also these things that Connor Sanders showed me last year called One Wipe Charlies, which is kind of like a baby wipe that's biodegradable, and I have to admit these are kind of nice. This right here, what this is it goes over your backpack and it keeps your backpack from getting wet in case it rains, which is definitely possible at Marbs, if not probable, and also even possible at Gorge. It's definitely rained at Gorge probably 1 out of every 4 or 5 years. It rained last year, so this keeps all your stuff dry in your backpack. Toothbrush, don't forget it. Deodorant, not a bad idea. Advil, I don't know, I'm an old man, so I gotta use Advil, and even Tylenol PM to help me sleep at night. A little first aid kit, not a bad thing to have. And a knife. Now, you can use a knife for lots of different things. It's a great tool. This is a tiny little knife. I have my favorite knife I've ever owned. is this one's kind of nice and light, but also sturdy. You can cut bread with it, cut Spam with it, cut salami with it. It's really sharp. It's a buck knife, but it's light and strong and sharp and really good. I take this with me everywhere. Sunblock. Don't forget it. We will be baking in the sun, especially at Gorge. Okay? Mosquito repellent. I didn't have any, but just don't forget it. The mosquitoes are out there. They will eat you alive. Always bring a lighter in case you get in a survival situation. That's my motto. Here's some water purifying pills in case my filter breaks or my stereo pen runs out of battery. And links of paracord. Never a bad thing. 550 pounds this stuff will hold. And people are tying all kinds of stuff up with this stuff down on our backpack trips. Money for fast food stop afterwards. Music, because a lot of people like to chill out, especially at Marbs. We have time for everybody to go out and sort of have some time in solitude. And a lot of people really enjoy the music in that time, some good inspirational music, some good pump up music while you're hiking. I'm a big fan. I always bring my headphones and something to play music with. Your Bible. On all of our campus life trips, we'll be teaching out of the Bible, of course, and I find like have the most clarity and can hear from God a lot of times the best on a backpack trip out in nature. So I always bring my Bible. So I think that you should bring a journal too. There's lots of different types and sizes of journals. My favorite name of one is the Bigfoot Pocket Journal. That's pretty cool. But I know a lot of you, like me, will have your most clarity in thinking out there in nature in the wilderness without all the distractions. And so I know that if I don't write stuff down, I'll forget it. So I do a lot of journaling out in nature. All right, so I want to talk to you guys a little bit about clothes. Clothes is a very personal thing as well, but I'll give you a few recommendations. I mean, if you survive to make it into high school, you probably kind of know how to dress yourself and pack for yourself. But a few things on our trips are worth noting. First of all, you should probably have something that covers your legs, if for nothing else than the mosquitoes. At Gorge, it's not really that cold, so you don't really need anything to cover your legs in Gorge except for the bugs. But at Marbs or Crystal Lakes or any of our colder trips, you're going to want pants just for warmth. And so they make backpacking pants. These are zip-offs. They're nice and thin. They're nice and light. They pack down super small, and those are our favorite. But you know, in a pinch, you could use jeans. You could use sweatpants. You could use warm-ups. You know, whatever you got to cover your legs and give you a little bit of warmth. Another really great type of shirt to have at Gorge is just a really thin long sleeve, because again, at Gorge, it's not about warmth. It's just about covering your skin from bugs and maybe taking a little bit of the chill off. So that's really good. And a couple of t-shirts just like this, a couple pairs of maybe hiking shorts or normal shorts, but especially at Gorge, board shorts are a must. And we'll get into what the girls should wear, but the guys, you're gonna be living in your board shorts because we're in and out of the water all the time. So at Marbs it does get cold, so you're gonna want a lot more than a t-shirt at Marbs or Crystal Lakes or one of our colder trips. So a couple years ago I bought this Patagonia down sweater. It packs down super tight, it's really light and it's really warm, but these are kind of expensive. So you're gonna need to bring like a fleece or like a couple layers of hoodies, but you're gonna need to have something that's gonna keep you really warm when it's below freezing at night. On top of that, you will need something that's going to keep the rain off you if you're going on one of our colder trips like Marbs or Crystal Lake. So I've got a little really light Gore-Tex shell that I would recommend. Something like that. Again, Gore-Tex is kind of expensive, but something waterproof. You can use Scotch Guard and a windbreaker and spray it down. But when it starts raining, if you don't have something like this, you're going to be super bummed. But when it's raining and I got this and my down sweater underneath, I am toasty and I'm feeling like I was a genius for bringing it. So there you go. That's pretty much the stuff that you need for backpacking. And I realized that some of this stuff's kind of expensive, and so I kind of gave you something to sort of shoot for and a lot of the basics. But there's a lot of ways to do this on a tight budget. And also at Campus Life, a lot of this stuff we have to loan you. So if you're missing a backpack or missing a sleeping bag or some of these major things, let us know and we can probably loan you one. It's fun to just start building up your collection of gear if you like backpacking. And if you have any questions, be sure to ask any of us on the Campus Life staff. We've been doing this a long time. We've got a lot of good info. See you on the trail.
Are you paying attention? Yes, because